Question 12. A water tank is a cylinder with radius 40 centimetres and a depth of 150 centimetres. It's filled at a rate of 0.2 litres per second. We're told that 1 litre is worth 1,000 centimetres cubed, and we're asked, does it take longer than an hour to fill the tank? You must show you're working. So the first thing that we should recognise that we need to do is find the volume of this cylinder. And this cylinder is a prism. When I say prism, I mean the shape on the end, the 2D shape, which is a circle, is the same all the way through. So this is a prism, and to find the volume of a prism, we find the area of the 2D shape and multiply it by the length. So I'm going to write this down. Volume is the area of the circle. There's two formulas you need to learn for the circle, so you can write it down like this. So for circumference, we can remember cherry pies delicious, apple pies are two. So that's your two formulas you need to learn for the circle, for circumference and area. This is obviously what we need now. So pi r squared multiplied by the length, or the height, I'm going to call it, of the cylinder. Substituting the values we know, is pi multiplied by the radius squared, and the height is 150. Working this out on your calculator, you can pop this in straight away. Pi multiplied by 40 squared times 150, which is 240,000 pi. It's probably a good idea to write it in terms of pi, because this isn't our final answer yet, and if we use this is an exact answer later on in our working, so the answer that we'll find will be more precise. I am going to convert it as well, just so it makes a bit more sense. So that's 753,982. And this is a volume we've worked out, so because it was in centimetres, the volume will be in centimetres cubed. Now we're told that 1 litre is worth 1,000 centimetres cubed, so by dividing through by 1,000, we then calculate how many litres this is. So this is going to give me 240 pi, by taking off 3 zeros, and 240 pi, notice I can just type this in, 240 pi, like that, and then change it, is 753.982 ... and we've now converted this into litres. So by having it in decimals is better for my understanding of what I'm actually doing, but having it in terms of pi is better when I'm putting it into the calculator. Okay, you have to be a bit careful when you say things like this in the exam, so 240 pi or 753. Okay, only give options like that if you know that they are both exactly the same, which I know they are. So I'd never write in the exam, if I'm solving an equation, x equals 5 or x equals 2 or something like that, because I'm definitely not going to get the marks. So you can only use or when you're giving answers if you know they are both exactly the same. So I'm now going to think, right, it's 753 litres, that's what my tank is, and we're told that it's filled at a rate of 0.2 litres per second. So if I divide through by 0.2, I'm going to find out how many seconds it takes to fill out this. So that's what I'm going to do now, divide by 0.2, and I can again do this straight into my calculator. So I had 240 pi, divide by 0.2. Notice when you're dividing by a number less than 1, the answer gets bigger. So I get 1200 pi, or, to make more sense to me, that's 3,769 seconds. Okay, now in the question it says, does it take longer than an hour? So I don't know whether that is longer than an hour or not. So I'm going to do this in stages. I'm going to divide it by 60 because that will then tell me how many minutes that is. So 1200 pi divided by 60 gives me 20 pi. And that is 62.83 minutes. Alright, I want it in hours, so I'm going to divide through by 60 again. So again, 20 pi divided by 60 gives me a third of pi. And changing that on my calculator gives me 1.04719, and this is in hours. Okay, so now ready to answer the question. Does it take longer than an hour to fill the tank? Yes, it does. And because I've shown all my working, that's fine for the final mark. Showing you the mark scheme. Question 12, this is where we get the marks. So by writing pi times 40 squared times 150, remember that bit itself will give you the method mark. So even if you got that answer wrong for some reason, if you wrote that down, you get the first method mark. The second method mark is for taking your answer from this bit, which could have been wrong, and dividing through by 1000, so that gives you 2 marks. The next mark is by taking your answer and dividing through by 60. Notice this one is called M1 dependent, which means that you only get this method mark if you have got the last 2 marks. So if you had not shown your working for this and put divide by 60, you wouldn't get this mark, and you wouldn't get any subsequent marks either. The next bit, it's got these square brackets, and the square brackets mean that the examiner will accept anything from 62.8 to 62.84. This is obviously referring to the minutes. So this bit, for example, because it's between 62.8 and 62.84, that would get me the mark. They would have accepted it in hours, so if it's between 1.04 and 1.05, like my answer, then again that gives you the mark as well. And then finally we need to say yes. Okay, so we need to give these answers and say yes to get the full marks.